Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. Hope you guys are all having a great day. Let's have a look at some of the setups that we have coming up in the market this afternoon. Quick little look at things. We're about a half hour out from the close here, and you can see that it's just been a pretty flat day overall. Excuse me, S&P's just kind of not really going anywhere. The Dow's just barely up. Oil is kind of up just a little tiny bit. Gold has been the big mover for today. This morning, gold took a big dive right after the retail sales news, and it's just kind of bouncing around from there. So we'll look at that in just a moment. As far as news goes today, we don't really have anything else coming up. You can see that some bank holidays today through through tonight in France and Italy, and then tomorrow, coming into tomorrow, we have a couple of important news announcements. The CPI, that's a big one for the U.S., so we'll be live for that, watching that and trading some of the movements there. Likewise, this is a pretty big one as well. The meeting minutes and the claimant count for the UK. These are both decent movers. And if any of these numbers are changed, they've been exactly the same for, I can't even count how many past. But if we get anything different than 009, then we're going to see some big movements on the pound. So keep an eye on that. We're definitely getting into summertime and markets are getting a little bit sideways, but here's where we are currently on the euro dollar. The euro dollar has been running all over the place. We saw it run all the way up. We had this break above here, and we had this nice run from the daily video yesterday, kind of just above the, above the daily pivot and so on. And now we have a few more slightly, I guess you could say, exact entries. Right below about 123.15-ish is where the bulls will start to lose their control. So if we can get through 123.15, and ultimately 12300 is going to be the big level, but 15 is an exact support and resistance level that has been in play quite a bit over the last little while. You can see how it has stopped the market over and over again. And so if we can get a nice little break and specifically an open below this 123.15 is what I'd like to see, then I think we have a good chance for running down into some of these lower areas. You can see that we've got a bit of a trend line in the works here, and so that can put us into that trend line, which is going to be down in this range here. So not a ton of pips, but there's probably 25 to potentially 30 pips in the works if we get a break and an open below 123.15. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. If, on the other hand, the market just consolidates above 123.15 and decides it just can't go down anymore, then we do have some possible entries to take the pair up as well. And if we look at some of the shorter term time frames, you can see that we've got this little trend line that's still kind of in the works. It's getting a little bit better formed here, but there's some of that, and you can see that we've got that area there. So above, break above this trend line, again, you can kind of see how that'll work. Should kind of constitute that bounce off of that strong support there around 123.15. So that's what I'm going to be looking for as far as an entry there. Getting a break above this trend line. Ultimately, I'd like to get kind of above the majority of the consolidation. Ideally, about 122.40 would probably be a good area to look to get into this pair. Anything before might be a little bit premature, but about 122.40 ought to be enough to confirm some upward movement on this euro dollar. So remember, pause, rewind, mark charts, mark video, all this from the video, and just be ready for these levels. These are going to be some good levels, and we should get some good entries out of this euro dollar coming into the Asian session today. We watched the pound dollar. The pound dollar gave us a nice little reversal here, nice little retracement, but very, 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 very choppy. And it still is staying in fairly bullish territory, surprisingly. As I talked about this morning, it's kind of staying at the top of the chart. Anything below about this 156.60 is where we'll start to get pretty bearish, but if it comes down and just takes a little dip, which I am kind of expecting this to do, dip into our support right here and bounce and head back up into this major resistance, you can see that there's a lot of pips in there, about 60 pips or so. I'll be bullish on the pound dollar as long as it can stay above this 56.50, 56.60 area, and I think, like I said, we'll get a dip down into that. Now, if we get a nice break below this level and it gets below 156.50, then I think the bulls will be losing it and the bears will be taking over. So keep an eye on that. But I'm not super active on the pound dollar for the moment because I think it's a little choppy and a little messy. Euro yen, so same thing as the euro dollar yesterday. We talked about getting some continued bullish movement as we got above 96.30. I have a feeling that this might be starting to wear out just a little bit. We do have some room for some retracement. This 96.55.60 area is really what we're looking for. Below this, if we get a break below this area right here, and you can see very specifically right here that is a nice little support. If we get below that, next stop is definitely 96.30 and below. But really, this is where the buyers are going to start losing control of the market, and where the sellers will start to take over. So below 96.55, a nice little open below this level should be good for a quick 25 pip run into 96.30, but should also be good for a run back into these lows. So that's what I'm looking for. If we don't get that, if we just get excuse me, a little run down into some of these resistance areas here, or excuse me, support areas here of the trend line and so on, then that's where we'll just kind of start looking for some little breaks on the 5-minute chart and so on. But again, we could see some of that happening. Look for reversal patterns, look for inverted hammers, look for bullish hammers, look for pin bars ultimately off of this level right here, trend line kind of above this 96.50 for buy opportunities. But if we don't see that, then a break is going to be what we'll be looking for beyond 96.55. So it should be a good little selling opportunity there. The Aussie dollar has actually turned quite bearish, and this is pretty good. You can see on the larger time frames here, it's coming down into a trend line, and there's going to be major support right here and major support right here. So, right around this this area right here, which is about 104.75 and then about 104.50, lots of support. It's coming into big time support. But if gold keeps doing what it's doing, it's going to drag the Aussie dollar lower, and you can see that this area, this 10500, is now turned into pretty decent resistance. And so now we're going to start to see this guy break, and I actually like this sell entry right here on this trend line to start taking this pair lower with some stops, obviously above some of these swing points here, 15, 20 pips, but I like this breakout and this sell opportunity into those lows and hopefully into about the 104.50, 60 area. So we're going to be looking for that. And gold's doing its thing as always, so we'll be kind of watching that. But last but not least here, if the pound, or if the Aussie yen, excuse me, can stay above about 82.50.60, then it's still in bullish territory. But as it starts to get below that and breaking this trend line right here, we can see a nice little trend line in the works. As it starts to break that, then things turn very bearish, and we start heading for 82.40 and ultimately about 82.25. So these are kind of some levels that we'll be watching here. But keep an eye on this 82.50.60 area. If we get below 82.50, then I think we're headed nicely down, probably into that 82.25-ish zone. So keep an eye on that and be ready for those movements. But we've got some great setups and things are looking really good. So just use some of those reversal patterns, use some of those breakouts, mark these levels on the charts, and you should be able to grab some pips. Plus, we'll be live in the chat this afternoon looking for entries there as well. Thanks a bunch, everyone, and we'll see you in the chat.